I flew out a day early.
Breaking news, big stress for local travelers. That hurricane headed toward Hawaii was just upgraded to a Category 5.
And Southland tourists and residents are scrambling right now to get off the islands, but some are stuck.
And now they have to brace for Hurricane Lane, which is getting even bigger tonight. CBS 2's Tom Wade is live at LAX where flights from Hawaii are coming in. Tom?
And that's right, Pat and Jeff. Some great news for people who were able to make it out of there. But for many others, it was too tough to get out, too expensive. And we talked to some people who were just stuck. Hurricane Lane continues to churn toward Hawaii. Depending on the storm's trajectory, the islands could be slammed with heavy rain, winds, and surf. As the forecast models appear to be increasingly ominous, folks on the islands are getting more nervous.
When we woke up, we decided let's just leave.
Vi Solis is a Southern California resident visiting his parents on Oahu. He's traveling with 2 young kids and trying to get out, but flights are booking up and getting very pricey.
The idea of going home instead of staying here and waiting it out just seemed like the better plan, but we don't have that option.
Meanwhile, at LAX this evening, passengers arriving from Hawaii were relieved to have left when they did.
We're just lucky to be back and that nothing passed by us.
There's a lot of uncertainty around it, so I was kind of concerned I wouldn't be able to get out.
In Hawaii, officials are trying to get the word out as early as possible to residents and tourists so they can make a plan.
I'm hoping it changes course. But we can't assume that and then have a major problem and say, well, we are hoping. So we're planning for the worst and hoping for the best.
Vi says he and his family are getting prepared to hunker down.
There is really no plan B. It's basically, hope for the best. And if the worst comes, just make sure we have the provisions to get through it.
And when we talked to Vi tonight, he says he intends to listen very closely to local officials and to get to shelters, of course, if that's what has to happen. Garth Kemp will have a lot more on the hurricane forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Reporting live at LAX, I'm Tom Waite, CBS 2 News.
Thanks, Tom. Well, more fallout tonight for 2 men close to the president. Mr. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, accepts a plea deal that could land him behind bars.
And the president's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, is found guilty of tax and bank fraud. A CBS 2 political reporter, Dave Bryan, has details of the stunning day in court for Cohen. Dave?
The Cohen plea was more than just a simple plea. This was a message to the White House. Michael Cohen's guilty plea today was much more than a simple guilty plea because he also happened to mention in the charging documents that he broke the campaign finance laws with the full knowledge and at the direction of one Donald Trump, who was weeks away at that time from being elected president and wasn't going to let an alleged sexual affair with a porn star change that.
Where is the collusion?
While President Trump was screaming at a rally in West Virginia about where is the collusion, speaking of the Russia investigation, of course, his former attorney was essentially telling prosecutors that he and Donald Trump were in collusion to bribe 2 women to keep their silence about sexual affairs with Trump and influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election.
He not only implicated, he specifically under oath stated that Donald Trump directed him to commit a crime, making Donald Trump as much guilty of that felony as my client, Mr. Cohen.
And at the center of the controversy, adult entertainment performer Stormy Daniels. Cohen says he paid Daniels $130,000 right before the election.
He worked to pay money to silence 2 women who had information that he believed would be detrimental to the 2016 campaign and to the candidate.
President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, responded with this statement. There is no allegation of any wrongdoing against the president in the government's charges against Mr. Cohen. It is clear that, as the prosecutor noted, Mr. Cohen's actions reflect a pattern of lies and dishonesty over a significant period of time. And finally, the New York Daily News posted this front-page headline Tuesday night, "All the President's Henchmen," showing President Trump's former attorney and former campaign chairman, now both convicted felons. A play on the book and movie about the Watergate scandal during the Richard Nixon presidency. It was entitled All the President's Men. Now, for a president who vowed to drain the swamp in Washington, today's developments are unsettling to say the least. The Washington Post reporting that Cohen is the 5th Trump associate to plead guilty or be charged with criminal wrongdoing since President Trump took office. And that was only a year and a half ago. Pat, back to you.
Well, Dave, today's other big decision is this. A jury found former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort guilty on some of the 18 charges against him on financial crimes.
Yeah, the case involved filing false income tax returns, failing to file reports for foreign bank accounts, and bank fraud. So here's the breakdown. Jurors found Manafort guilty of 8 counts, 5 for tax fraud, 2 for bank fraud, and 1 count of hiding a foreign bank account.
The jury could not reach a verdict on 10 other counts of foreign bank and bank fraud charges. The judge declared a mistrial on those counts. The charges were not connected to the Trump campaign. Manafort faces a maximum of 80 years in federal prison when he is sentenced.
Now to a police shooting, then a wild search for a suspect in Old Town Pasadena. It started this afternoon when a federal agent boxed in the car of a wanted felon. U.S. Marshals shot the suspect and hit him in the thigh, but he still ran away and towards a man sitting in his car, waiting for his wife and daughter.
I hopped out of the car and I ducked down the back of the car, and then I saw the, I guess the suspect running right towards me. So I just got spooked and I ran to it.
Well, that suspect then ran into the parking structure and found a good Samaritan willing to give him a ride. Well, the man quickly realized he was helping out a felon and got out of the car so agents could take him down.
A bizarre barricade at a West Hollywood apartment building. A dispute between a tenant and a landlord led to an hours-long standoff that ended with a naked suspect in handcuffs. CBS 2's Rachel Kim is live outside that building where it all went down. Rachel.
Yeah, Pat, residents in this building tell us the unidentified man suffers from mental illness, and they say they've seen him act strangely before, but they never expected him to face off with sheriff's deputies for over 5 hours from his balcony and window. Sky 9 captured the standoff between this naked man in his West Hollywood apartment and the sheriff's department and their drone Tuesday afternoon.
There goes the backpack.
The man continued to hurl things at the drone, then at the deputies down on the street who were trying to get him to come out.
I was getting some air.
Investigators say this bizarre barricade had started around noon when deputies got a call about a landlord-tenant dispute at this building on Doheny Drive.
When deputies approached that apartment, they heard shots fired. So those deputies backed away and contained that location. They began evacuations.
The sheriff's department brought in their Special Enforcement Bureau, crisis negotiators, and mental health team to try and get the man to surrender peacefully. But he refused and continued to rant.
Insulting the police, saying like all the bad words, the F words and all that.
Renato Campora lives 1 floor above and recorded the man out on his balcony. Neighbors across the street recorded too, as the man kept throwing stuff out the window at the deputies, who later responded with a flashbang. As all of this was going on, the sheriff's department's drone was safely giving investigators below a picture of what the man was doing inside. After 5 hours of negotiating, deputies went inside and breached the man's door.
Wow, they keep nailing him with those beanbags here.
And then it was over as the man was hauled off in cuffs. Right now, it's unclear what the dispute with the landlord was about in the first place. The sheriff's department says their criminal investigation is just beginning. Reporting live tonight in West Hollywood, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
Rachel, thank you. A Southern California Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter Jr. and his wife have been indicted. They're charged with using campaign finance funds for personal use like family vacations to Hawaii and Italy.
The crimes reportedly happened between 2009 and 2016. Investigators also say some campaign money was spent on dental work and school tuition.
An autopsy is scheduled tomorrow in the closely watched case of an Iowa college student, Molly Tibbetts. An immigrant in the country illegally is now charged in her murder. The suspect, Christiane Rivera, told investigators that he got out of his car and then ran beside her while she was out for a jog. She then threatened to call police, and then Rivera says he got angry and blacked out. Investigators aren't commenting on a motive, but they say that Rivera led them to her body in a cornfield. Rivera is from Mexico and had been in that area now for 7 years. Tibbetts was from the Bay Area.
A pit maneuver ends a wild chase, but then the driver rams the officers' cars and gets away. Glendale police say it started this morning when a man shoplifted from a Vons. That suspect then took off in a Mustang and led officers on a pursuit. Well, after he slammed into cruisers, he took off on foot. Officers set up a perimeter near Foothill in Boston, but couldn't find him, and the search is still going on for that suspect tonight.
A security video shows children running from gunfire during a gang shooting yesterday in Inglewood. A 13-year-old boy recovering in the hospital after he was hit by a stray bullet. The boy was shot in the back and went through surgery. He is expected to make a full recovery. So far, no arrests have been made.
Boy Scouts duped how a crook ripped off local students.
That's ahead, plus this.
A popular Southland hardware store reportedly closing for good. We'll show you what's happening tonight at Osh.
And firefighters say
there's lives at stake, property at stake. You know, it's unacceptable.
And firefighters say that Verizon hurt their efforts in Northern California. We'll explain.
Hi, everybody. I'm Garth Kemp. Well, for us, not bad weather coming away, but if you're thinking about going to the islands, we'll tell you all about Lane coming up.
And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.